we looked like front runners for sure tonight. Like we was down, nobody wanted to say nothing. Then we got up, then everybody like cheering and hype, and then we get down again and don't nobody say nothing. That's the definition of a front runner.
The Minnesota Timberwolves have had a shaky start this year, despite having high hopes following their 2024 season, where they reached the Western Conference Finals. A controversial move that raised doubts at the time was trading Karl Anthony Towns to the New York Knicks for Jalen Brunson and a future first-round pick.
We've been trying to figure this out for the whole year, man. We thought this was defense was our identity, and it's not looking like it at all. We don't know what our identity right now. Me and Mike was talking about. I think we soft as hell, like as a team internally. Like, you know what I mean? Like not to the other team, but like internally, like we soft. Like we can't talk to each other. It's a bunch of little kids. It's just like we playing with a bunch of little kids, like everybody, like the whole team. We gotta figure it out, man, because we can't go down this road.
What do you feel like could be that change for you guys defensively to get that identity back?
Doing what the tell us to do, like that's what I mean. Like the coach tells us one thing, and we go out there and do a whole nother thing. Like that's not our game plan. I don't know, man. It's crazy right now. I don't really know. Everybody got a different agenda, you know. So it's like, what the am I supposed to say to get you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
So I'm trying to get better in that aspect to figure out what the hell to say to get everybody on the same agenda, because everybody right now is on different agendas, and we're just so negative right now. Like I said, as a team, the last couple of years we was like this, and it just feel like we just, you know, just gradually just growing away from each other.
Karl Anthony Towns held significant importance to Minnesota, but due to the new a collective bargaining agreement, they had to let him go because of impending extensions for Rudy Gobert and others. As mentioned, the season has been erratic so far, and the team's overall vibes and chemistry are not where the front office hoped they'd be. We appeared as frontrunners tonight. We started off down, and nobody spoke up. Then we rallied and everyone was energized, only to fall behind again with silence from the team. That exemplifies being a frontrunner. We've been trying to piece this together all year. We initially believed our defense defined us, but it's clear that's not the case. We're struggling to identify our true identity right now. Mike and I were discussing how we seem weak as a team on the inside. It's not about how we measure up against the competition. Internally, we're soft. It's like we can't communicate effectively with each other, and it feels like we're just a group of kids playing together. Everyone on the team needs to sort things out because we can't continue on this path. What do you think could spark a change for your defense to reclaim that identity? We need to do what the coach instructs us, yet we seem to go out and execute something entirely different that's not what we planned. Honestly, it's chaotic right now, and everyone seems to have their own agenda. What am I meant to say to unify us? I'm working on figuring out what to convey to align everyone, because at the moment, we're all pulling in different directions, and the negativity is overwhelming. As a team, we've had a semi-consistent struggle for the last couple of years, and it feels like we are slowly drifting apart. After losing to the Boston Celtics, Anthony Edwards expressed that he doesn't want to play this way. Being just 23, he doesn't want to be passing the ball all night while facing double teams. In the next game, he scored 53 points, but only had 2 assists in a 14-point loss to the Detroit Pistons. However, he did follow that up with an 8-assist game. Against the LA Clippers, it is somewhat strange how the dynamics of this Minnesota Timberwolves team have unfolded this year. While Julius Randle has been a decent offensive talent for them, he certainly doesn't match the impact Karl Anthony Towns had alongside Anthony Edwards. This season, Randle is averaging just below 20 points per game, along with about 7 rebounds and 4.5 assists, shooting 47% from the field, 36% from 3, and 82% from the free throw line. He is clearly not as effective offensively as Towns, and while he may be similar defensively, Towns certainly brought a greater intensity on that side of the floor. Timberwolves fans are beginning to notice how Randle can struggle when situations aren't favorable, leading to his disengagement on both sides of the court, which brings up concerns with his body language for a team aspiring to return to the Western Conference Finals, where they were last May, and Randle has a player option at the season's conclusion. He could enter unrestricted free agency if he opts out of his $30 million option for 2026. Randle was the key player acquired in the Karl Anthony Towns trade, and he could leave for nothing if he chooses not to return to Minnesota at year's end. Many players on this team have been underperforming offensively this season. Jaden McDaniels, who received a significant extension a couple of off-seasons ago, is averaging just below 10 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, and is shooting 44% from the field, 33% from three-point range, and 73% from the line. All his offensive figures have declined from his breakout season in 2023. While he remains an exceptional defender, he is compensated to be one of the primary offensive options. Given Rudy Gobert's substantial salary for primarily defensive contributions with limited offensive impact, having another player like McDaniels in the same mold is unsustainable. He needs to elevate his offensive game as well, or trade discussions regarding Jaden McDaniels could arise in the future. Before we continue with the video, I'd like to share a word from today's sponsor, Underdog. Underdog is undeniably the best platform to engage in fantasy sports, whether it's NBA, NFL, college sports, WNBA, or MLB when it returns. Underdog is the go-to option. I've been utilizing their pick feature all season, and I thoroughly enjoy it. You select higher or lower on specific player statistics. It could involve combined points, rebounds, and assists, which together might get you 2 to 100 times your investment in one night. Dante DiVincenzo struggled initially as he began his Minnesota Timberwolves journey, which was significant for him since he recently had a child. He moved from New York, where he enjoyed a stellar season with close friends, to Minnesota. Over the past weeks, his performance has improved, still shooting 36% from three this year. However, he's been asked to take on a vastly different role than in New York, where he primarily came off screens, with no dribbles, attempting numerous threes per game. This season, he's attempting around 2 fewer threes per game and is trying to play more as a traditional point guard, a style that doesn't seem to fit Dante DiVincenzo's strengths. Mike Conley has also been underwhelming offensively this season. However, he is 37 years old. Not everyone can age like LeBron James. Rebounding is Christie's forte, as James makes a left-handed cut, and he steals the ball again. I will mention that Nas has performed decently this year, but he's required to contribute more offensively with Karl Anthony Towns in New York. I would argue he's experiencing a somewhat lower offensive output compared to his Sixth Man of the Year campaign last season. Additionally, he may be a free agent at the end of the season, having a player option. This team indeed possesses Detroit's top 13 protected first-round pick this year, but they're obliged to give their first-round pick to the Utah Jazz this year and to do so again in 2027 and 2029. Furthermore, in 2026 and 2028, they are required to swap picks with Utah, obtaining the less favorable option from those swaps. In 2030 and 2031, they will also need to hand over some first-round picks to San Antonio due to the trade for the Rob Dillingham pick in the 2024 draft. Dillingham is intriguing. He excited fans at Kentucky and has the potential to be a scoring spark off the bench. However, I feel he's not receiving enough playtime in Minnesota this year as they aim to compete, while Dillingham was considered more of a project player. Minnesota is also one of the priciest teams in the NBA this season, with Gore earning $43 million, Anthony Edwards $42 million, Julius Randle $33 million, and Daniels $13 million, and Ness Reid plus DiVincenzo, each over $10 million as well. Furthermore, they will certainly lack the flexibility in cap space moving forward, especially with the second apron always hovering over them. They also have a limited number of draft picks to utilize, making it challenging to determine their next steps after their impressive 2024 season, having reached the Western Conference Finals this year. However, at this moment, I doubt they will finish as a top 4 team in the Western Conference, as they currently rank 21st in offensive performance across the NBA. While they sit 8th defensively, which places them at 12-4 net rating, they are neither a top 5 offense nor defense. History indicates that being in the top 5 in one area is essential for being a true finals contender. Given how OKC is performing currently without Chet Holmgren, alongside Memphis's assets and Houston's potential, plus Denver still having Nikola Jokic, and Dallas getting healthier as the season progresses, it will be challenging for Minnesota to regain their previous standing. I don't see the benefit of this being a retool or bridge year. What avenues do they have to make significant additions? Will they pursue a big-name player to complement Anthony Edwards, akin to the caliber of Karl Anthony Towns? They could be a bit more systematic with their approach, eliminating concerns about the second apron, which is a new complication in the NBA. Would they target someone like Jimmy Butler? A return to Minnesota for Butler seems unlikely. However, pursuing a player like Brandon Ingram is plausible. They possess the assets necessary to acquire him, and he could serve as a better second option to Anthony Edwards than Julius Randle, aligning more closely with their timeline. I doubt they'll ever have the assets to land someone like Kevin Durant or Devin Booker, should they ever become available, especially if Phoenix opts to rebuild. Therefore, their focus will likely be on making smaller moves, acquiring players like Nickeil Alexander-Walker, similar to past transactions, and unearthing second-round talents that can grow over time. Anthony Edwards is still showcasing some of the best basketball in Minnesota as the primary option, yet this season feels like the overall dynamic is off. I'm curious about their direction moving forward. Feel free to share your thoughts below. They took a huge gamble by trading away a fan favorite, arguably the best player in franchise history, alongside Kevin Garnett and Karl Anthony Towns, suddenly sending him to the New York Knicks, and their performance so far this season hasn't met expectations. Perhaps they'll refine their chemistry in the coming weeks as they wait. Up until the trade deadline, but if they fail to act, their opportunity to enhance this roster is now before the deadline arrives. Losing Nias, Ree, or Julius Randle in free agency without compensation would mean missing out on significant future trade assets. That is my view. I hope you all enjoyed this. Share your thoughts on the Minnesota Timberwolves' current situation and their potential paths forward. Are they in a perilous position or merely okay? Let me know. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.